Have you ever wondered how many more years life might have in store for you? Maybe that question crossed your mind after a visit to the doctor, a day when your body didn't respond as expected, or when you heard someone say, "At this age, there's not much left to do." It's funny how, without even realizing it, we can fall into those mental traps where time feels like a countdown, when, in reality, it could be an opportunity to live more and better. Today, I want to invite you to reflect on 9 signs that might reveal how much longer you'll live after turning 70. But this isn't a guessing game or just a simple list of healthy habits. It's a journey into the connection between your mind, your emotions, and your purpose. Stay with me until the end, because the final sign could not only change your perception of the time you have left, but also how you want to make the most of it. Let's begin. Number 1. Your mind, your most powerful refuge. There's an uncomfortable truth we rarely dare to face. What happens inside your head can be your greatest ally in longevity or its biggest saboteur. It's easy to blame the body for the limitations that come with age, but what if I told you that the state of your mind might influence things even more than your genetics? What you think, how you interpret what happens to you, and the internal dialogue you have every day are like an underground river that nourishes or contaminates everything else. In Stoicism, Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts. Therefore, watch carefully what you allow to enter your mind." And although it may sound like an inspirational quote to hang on the wall, it carries profound wisdom. Your mind is not just a refuge in difficult times, it is the engine that gives meaning to each day, the tool that can help you find beauty even in the toughest moments. But here's the trick. If that refuge is neglected, filled with worries, or trapped in constant rumination, it doesn't matter how much you care for your body, the wear and tear will be inevitable. Think about it. How many times have you felt trapped in your own thoughts, replaying the same worries over and over? It's like the mind is a carousel you can't stop, spinning with images from the past that you can't change, and fears about a future that may never come. That constant mental activity not only drains your emotional energy, it also has physical effects. Chronic stress accelerates cellular aging, weakens your immune system, and harms your heart. That's how powerful the impact of your mind is on your body. But not everything is lost. Just as you can let your mind drag you down, you can also train it to be your greatest ally. This is where neuroplasticity comes in, that wonderful ability of the brain to adapt and change even in old age. Every thought you choose to nurture, every perspective you decide to adopt, strengthens certain neural connections and weakens others. Simply put, every time you choose to focus on the positive, on what you can control, and on the present, you're reshaping your brain to work in your favor. Meditation, for example, isn't just for those seeking spiritual peace. It's a concrete exercise to train your attention and reduce mental noise. Even something as simple as sitting in silence and observing your breath for a few minutes can help you develop the ability to anchor yourself to the present. Not because you're ignoring your problems, but because you choose not to let them rule over you. And in the long run, this translates into more calm, less stress, and a better quality of life. I want you to imagine your mind as a garden. Every thought is a seed. If you water the seeds of worry, fear, or self-criticism, those are the plants that will grow and dominate the landscape. But if you decide to nurture the seeds of gratitude, hope, and acceptance, your mental garden will be a place where you'll want to spend more time. And the best part is that, unlike your body, your mind can be strengthened and renewed at any time, as long as you give it the care it deserves. So the next time you feel like your thoughts are taking you down a dark path, stop and ask yourself, is this thought bringing me closer to the life I want, or is it pushing me away from it? That simple question could be the first step in transforming your mind into a warm refuge where time, instead of being a threat, feels like a gift. Because in the end, it's not just about how long you live, but how you choose to live it, and it all starts here with the quality of your thoughts. Number 2, what your daily habits say about your future. Have you noticed how the days seem to repeat themselves? You wake up, do the same things, think the same thoughts, and before you know it, weeks, months, and even years pass in the blink of an eye. It's like we're living on autopilot, convinced that the little details don't matter because in the end, that's just life. But here's the uncomfortable truth. Every small habit you choose or ignore is building, brick by brick, the future you'll live in. And when that future arrives, it could be a solid mansion or a sandcastle. I remember Ernesto, an old family friend who used to say, "At my age, it doesn't matter what I do, the damage is already done." Ernesto was 70 years old and led what seemed like a pretty quiet life. He woke up late, had a quick breakfast, spent hours watching TV, and went to the park just to sit on a bench and watch others walk by. He'd say that taking care of the body or changing habits was something for young people, that it didn't make sense to invest energy in what he called the illusion of improvement. The funny thing was, despite his resigned speech, Ernesto wasn't happy with his life. He often complained about feeling weak, bored, and disconnected from everything. One day, after hearing him complain once more, I asked him, "What if you tried doing something different? You don't need big changes, just something to break the monotony. Maybe walk a little more or read something that sparks your curiosity." He looked at me like I had asked him to climb Everest. "At my age, there are no miracles, Gabriel," he replied with a dry laugh. But a few months later, after a doctor's visit that didn't go so well, something changed in him. He decided to start walking, first 5 minutes a day, then 10. Little by little, he stopped eating his lunch in front of the TV and began eating at the table, accompanied by a book someone had given him years ago. He didn't do anything extraordinary, but those small adjustments started to transform his mood, his energy, and most importantly, his outlook on life. Ernesto's story taught me something we rarely consider. You don't need to make drastic changes to transform your future. All it takes is paying attention to the small daily decisions, because those are the ones that truly shape your life. If every day you choose to move a little more, eat a little better, or look for something that sparks your interest, you're sending a message to your body and mind. I'm still here. I still care about how I live. The Stoics, especially Seneca, talked about the importance of consistency and how our daily actions determine the course of our existence. He said, "It's not that we have little time, it's that we waste a lot." And this is something we can apply to habits. It's not that you can't improve or feel better, it's that you might be wasting opportunities every day. Think of your routine as a field where you plant seeds. What are you cultivating with your current habits? Maybe it's time to pull out the weeds and start planting something different. You don't need to do everything at once. A small change like drinking more water, walking a little more, or dedicating 10 minutes to a forgotten hobby can be the beginning of a transformation you never even imagined was possible. The truth is, it doesn't matter how old you are or how many mistakes you think you've made, you can always adjust the course. Every day is an opportunity to decide what kind of future you want to build. Because while the past can't be changed, today is still completely yours. What will you choose to do with it? Number 3, the connection between your emotions and your physical health. Hippocrates, the father of medicine, used to say, "The body is a reflection of the mind." Although he lived centuries ago, that phrase makes more sense today than ever. Every emotion you feel, from joy to stress, leaves a mark on your body. If you've ever had a knot in your stomach after hearing bad news or felt a physical sense of relief after receiving good news, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Your emotions are not intangible. They are a language that your body translates, and if you don't pay attention to that language, the message eventually becomes a bill that you'll have to pay sooner or later. Imagine, for example, a day full of worries. Maybe you wake up thinking about that persistent pain in your back, the emotional distance from a child, or the uncertainty about what the future holds. All of that doesn't just live in your mind. It stays in your body, tensing your muscles, altering your breath, and over time, weakening your immune system. The good news is that it works the other way around as well. You can train yourself so that positive emotions, like gratitude and serenity, work in your favor. It's not magic, it's biology. Today, I want to offer you a simple yet powerful exercise. Close your eyes for a moment, take a deep breath, and think of something that brought you a small joy in the last 24 hours. It could be a kind gesture, a meal you enjoyed, or even this moment when you've chosen to dedicate time to reflect. As you think about it, place your hand over your chest and quietly say, "Thank you for this moment." Although it may seem insignificant, this exercise has a direct impact on your well-being. It activates the parasympathetic nervous system, the one that tells your body it's time to relax and repair itself. And if so far, this content is helping you see life differently, I'd like to invite you to subscribe to the channel. Every week, we share reflections, exercises, and tools that can help you build a fuller and more meaningful life. If you feel that these ideas could inspire someone you know, share this video with them. And tell me in the comments, what country are you watching this video from? I'd love to know and feel that we're connected on this journey. At the end of the day, you can't control every emotion that arises, but you can choose what to do with it. You can let it drag you along like a current, or you can use it to heal, learn, and grow. Because by taking care of your emotions, you're also taking care of your body, and that's one of the most beautiful ways to honor the life you still have ahead of you. Number 4. How your relationships lengthen or shorten your life. They say we are the average of the 5 people we spend the most time with. If that's true, have you ever wondered who's in your inner circle and how they influence your life? Because here's the thing, relationships don't just affect your emotional state, they also shape your physical health. Scientific studies have shown that chronic loneliness can be as harmful as smoking 15 cigarettes a day. So, if someone is making you feel invisible or constantly drained, maybe it's time to reconsider whether it's worth paying that price for their company. The reality is that relationships have immense power over us. A meaningful conversation with someone who truly listens can ease your anxiety more than any pill. On the other hand, the stress of dealing with people who criticize you or constantly demand from you can spike your cortisol levels and steal years from your life. And yet, we often stay stuck in relationships that don't serve us, whether out of loyalty, habit, or simply the fear of being alone. It's a cruel irony. We endure the wrong company to avoid facing the emptiness, but that emptiness is exactly what they end up leaving us with. I want to suggest something. Think of your life as a garden. Each relationship you have is like a plant in that space. Some flourish effortlessly, filling your life with color and oxygen. Others, however, are like vines that suffocate everything else. How many of those plants do you really want in your garden? And more importantly, how much are you willing to care for the ones that truly matter? Today, I invite you to do this exercise. Take a piece of paper and draw a big circle. Inside the circle, write the names of the people who make you feel good, those with whom conversations flow, who respect your boundaries and inspire you to be better. Outside the circle, write the names of those who constantly generate stress, frustration, or exhaustion. You don't need to share this list with anyone. It's a private exercise to help you visualize who's adding to your life and who's not. Then reflect, how could you strengthen the relationships inside the circle? Maybe with a phone call, a visit, or a gesture of gratitude. And for those outside, ask yourself if you can set clearer boundaries or even let some go. Not all connections are meant to last forever, and it's okay to release what no longer serves you. Seneca once said, "The time we enjoy with those we love is the only time we really own." So why waste it with those who don't see your worth? In the end, the quality of your relationships not only defines your happiness, it could also make the difference between living a few more years or a few less. And if there's anything we can learn from life, it's that the years don't matter as much as what we do with them. 5. What your body is trying to tell you. In the 1820s, when Scottish Dr. James Curry began documenting the benefits of cold water for health, he was treated like a madman. At a time when illnesses were believed to be divine punishments or imbalances of mysterious fluids, the idea of immersing oneself in ice-cold water to revitalize the body seemed, at the very least, a dangerous eccentricity. But Curry understood something that today seems obvious, and yet many still prefer to ignore. The body is much wiser than we think. It's always talking to us, asking for things, sending signals. The problem is that, like in Curry's case, we often choose to ignore it until it's too late. Think of your body as an insistent neighbor who knocks on your door every time there's a leak in the pipes. First, it knocks gently, with small aches or signs of fatigue. But if you ignore it, it ends up breaking down the door with an emergency you can no longer control. That's how it works. That persistent pain in your joints is not just a part of getting older, it's a warning that you need to move more or change your diet. That constant tiredness is not just a bad day, it's a wake-up call to check your rest and stress levels. And that racing heart isn't always excitement. Sometimes it's anxiety disguised as urgency. James Curry's story reminds us that listening to the body doesn't mean giving in to discomfort, but learning to work with it. Take, for example, Eastern cultures, which for centuries have practiced disciplines like Tai Chi and yoga, not to compete or look better, but to cultivate the connection between body and mind. These practices, as simple as conscious stretching or deep breathing, are ways to respond to the body before its calls become shouts. So what can we learn from this? First, that the body is not an enemy to be subdued with medication or ignored with resignation. It's a companion that, even in old age, has a surprising ability to adapt, heal, and strengthen if you care for it. Maybe you won't run a marathon again, but a daily walk can be just as transformative. Perhaps your bones aren't as strong as before, but feeding them what they need and giving them movement can prevent falls and unnecessary pain. Take a moment and ask yourself, what is my body telling me today? Maybe it's asking for some water, a little movement, or simply a moment of rest without screens or distractions. The next time you feel discomfort, instead of covering it up with an excuse or an immediate pill, ask yourself what it's trying to communicate. It's not about avoiding modern medicine, but complementing it with something we often forget: mindfulness. Seneca, as wise as he was direct, said, "Taking care of the body is the first duty of the soul, not because the body is the most important, but because it's the home from which we experience all of life. And like any home, it needs maintenance, care, and above all, respect." What's the point of accumulating years if you can't fully enjoy them? Listen to your body, respond with patience, and discover how even the smallest changes can transform your everyday life. 6. Embrace uncertainty and choose curiosity over fear. Imagine you're standing in front of an immense forest. The fog covers the first trees, and beyond that, everything is a mystery. You don't know what lies on the other side, whether it's a landscape full of flowers or rocky terrain that will trip you up. The only thing you're sure of is that you must cross it, because staying at the edge is not an option. Next to you are two inevitable companions: fear, which whispers all the things that could go wrong, and curiosity, which encourages you to take the first step to see what lies beyond. Now tell me, who would you listen to? The problem is that fear always has a convincing argument. It talks to you about the safety you're leaving behind, the risks you might face, and how, if you make a mistake, it could be too late to turn back. It's persistent, isn't it? But what it doesn't tell you is that staying at that same edge, in that false comfort zone, is a slow and silent way to miss out on the best parts of the forest, the smells, the sounds, and the wonders you'll only discover if you choose to move forward. Life after a certain age can feel exactly like this. The uncertainties seem bigger, the risks more immediate. What if my health fails? What if the money doesn't stretch? What if I can't learn something new anymore? But the truth is, these questions are inevitable. Uncertainty cannot be avoided. It can only be walked through. Every step you take is an answer, a way of telling fear that it doesn't have control, that curiosity has something more valuable to offer you: possibilities. In the forest of our metaphor, curiosity is the lantern you carry in your hand. It doesn't show you the entire path, but it lights up enough for you to take one more step. Maybe you'll discover flowers you never imagined, or maybe you'll encounter an obstacle that you need to go around. But as long as you keep moving, you'll be living. Because that's life in the end. Not the certainty of what's to come, but the wonder of what you might find. Marcus Aurelius put it perfectly: never let the future disturb you. You will meet it, if you have to, with the same weapons of reason which today arm you against the present. Fear wants you to stay still, while curiosity invites you to move forward, to explore. And while we can't promise that every step will be easy, we can tell you this: in that forest, in the middle of the fog, is where you truly discover what it means to be alive. 7. Find meaning in the simple and practice daily gratitude. In a small Japanese village, there is a ritual that takes place every day at dawn. The elders of the village sit in front of the sea with a steaming cup of tea in their hands. They don't speak, they don't plan, they don't argue. They simply gaze at the horizon as the sun begins to paint the waves orange. When asked why they do this, they smile and say, "Because it's enough." Enough. A word that seems so simple, yet hides a wisdom that many of us spend our lives searching for. We often get lost in the idea that happiness is reserved for the big moments, the trip we've been dreaming of for years, the perfect reunion, the day when everything falls into place. But the reality is that those big things are few and fleeting. Instead, life is made of small moments that hide in the everyday. The smell of freshly brewed coffee, the texture of a blanket that wraps you up on a cold afternoon, the murmur of a quiet conversation. These moments, so simple they seem insignificant, are what truly build a fulfilling life. The problem is, we're trained not to see them. The mind is always looking for what's missing, what's not there, what could be better. We become hunters of lack, forgetting that in this constant search, we pass by what we already have. But here's the truth: if you don't learn to find meaning in the simple, you will always feel like something is missing, no matter how much you achieve or how much time you have. Epictetus, one of the great Stoics, said, "Wealth is not having great possessions, but having few needs." He wasn't referring to renouncing everything, but to shifting the focus, to looking at what's already in front of you with new eyes. Practicing gratitude isn't a trivial act. It's a way of reconnecting with what really matters. It's stopping in the middle of chaos and saying, "This, though small, is enough for this moment." Today I want to propose something. The next time you're alone, close your eyes and think of 3 things you can be grateful for right now. Maybe it's the simple fact that you're breathing, the roof over your head, or the taste of the meal you enjoyed a few hours ago. They don't need to be extraordinary things. In fact, the simpler they are, the more powerful the effect will be. Because gratitude not only illuminates what you already have, it also trains your mind to look for more reasons to be thankful. The meaning of life isn't in the big achievements, but in the small moments you choose to value. Those cups of tea at dawn, those minutes of silence by the sea, those moments when you allow yourself to be present, are the ones that truly matter at the end of the road. Sometimes, looking at the simple is the most revolutionary thing you can do. What would happen if, just for once, you stopped chasing what you think is missing and focused on what's already here? The answer might surprise you, because life always has more to offer than we think, especially when we learn to look with our hearts. 8. What do you do with your free time? They say that free time is life's greatest treasure, but if we're honest, sometimes we treat it more like an afterthought than a gift. Think about those moments in the day when you don't have immediate obligations. What do you do with them? Do you dive into social media until hours disappear? Do you sit in front of the TV, flipping through channels as if searching for something you don't even know what it is? Here's the problem. That time, so wasted and underestimated, is the only time that truly belongs to you. The Stoics, in their infinite wisdom, reminded us that what we value most isn't money or even health, but time. Seneca, in particular, was blunt in stating the time that is lost is irretrievable. But don't worry, this doesn't mean you need to become a model of extreme productivity and fill every minute with grand activities. Quite the opposite. It's about taking those small fragments of free time and giving them purpose, something that makes them feel meaningful. Today I want to challenge you with a simple but transformative task. When you finish watching this video, find 10 minutes, just 10, and dedicate them to something that truly makes you feel good. It could be reading a few pages of a book that's been waiting for you, writing your thoughts on a blank sheet of paper, or simply going for a walk and listening to the sounds around you. The trick is to do something that connects you with yourself, not with others' expectations or the distractions that are so abundant. Why does this work? Science backs up what the ancient philosophers already knew. When you dedicate time to conscious activities, your brain releases dopamine, the reward hormone, which not only improves your mood, but also strengthens your ability to focus and make decisions. In other words, those 10 minutes will not only make you feel good in the moment, but they will also train your mind to be more present and less enslaved to autopilot. Mindfulness, a practice rooted in both Buddhism and modern psychology, teaches us that it's not what you do, but how you do it. And dedicating a few minutes to being present, without judgment or expectation, is an act of rebellion in a world that always demands more, and more. The Stoics would call it living with intention. Scientists, training attention. I call it regaining a piece of your life. So, why not give it a try? 10 minutes, no distractions, no rush, just you and something that reminds you that you're still here, that free time isn't a luxury, but a golden opportunity to reconnect with yourself. You might discover that those few minutes a day are the start of a habit that, little by little, helps you give new meaning to your days. And in a world where so much seems out of control, what could be more valuable than learning how to manage the time you truly have? 9. The gift of accepting what you cannot control. In 1872, Claude Monet, a then unknown painter with serious financial struggles, decided to paint a sunrise. He had no idea that this piece, titled impression, sunrise, would end up giving its name to an entire artistic movement, Impressionism. But what few know is that Monet almost didn't finish the painting. He struggled with his own perfectionism, unable to accept that the world couldn't be captured with precision on a canvas. However, at some point, something changed. Monet stopped obsessing over the details and began painting with freedom, capturing the essence of things, not their technical details. It was an act of radical acceptance. Instead of trying to control every brushstroke, he decided to flow with the light and shadows as they were. Monet's story is a powerful reminder of how the obsession with controlling the uncontrollable can steal our enjoyment of life. In his case, it was his art that suffered. In ours, it's often our peace of mind. How many times have you felt trapped in situations you can't change? Maybe a child has taken a path you don't understand, a medical diagnosis came without warning, or simply the passage of time, which reflects itself in the mirror with unflinching honesty. Those are the lights and shadows of our life, and like Monet, we can choose to fight against them or learn to see them as part of a bigger picture. Epictetus, the slave-turned-philosopher, said it with brutal clarity: "Some things are up to us, and some things are not." But here's the trick. True freedom, he said, is accepting that difference. It doesn't mean giving up or being passive, but focusing on what we can change. If you're facing a family issue, you can choose how to react. If your strength isn't what it used to be, you can decide what to do with the energy you still have. You don't control the sunrise or the sunset, but you do control how you choose to contemplate them. Modern psychology has embraced this idea strongly, especially in acceptance and commitment therapy. This approach teaches that instead of fighting against emotions or difficult situations, we can learn to accept them, stopping the waste of energy on the impossible and redirecting it toward what really matters. Acceptance isn't resignation, it's an act of courage, a step toward a fuller, more conscious life. So, what can you learn from Monet and his sunrise? That, although you can't change how the light plays on the water, you can always decide what to do with the brush in your hand. Maybe you can't control the trajectory of the years, but you can paint each day with the colors you choose. Gratitude, patience, and above all, the ability to let go of what's beyond your control. Because when you stop trying to control the entire picture, you realize that the shadows and the light are not obstacles, but what gives depth and beauty to your life. Getting here is no accident. If you're listening to these words, it means you've allowed yourself some valuable time to reflect on your life, your time, and what truly matters. And that, in such a fast-paced world, is an extraordinary act. Today, we've walked through deep paths, from taking care of your body and relationships to accepting what you can't control. But above all, we've learned that life, at any age, is not something that simply happens to you. It's something you can choose to live with purpose and meaning, even in the smallest details. My name is Gabriel, and I want to thank you for staying with me until this moment, for opening your mind to new ideas, and perhaps for beginning to see more clearly those small gestures that can transform your days. I'd love to know which part of this video resonated with you. What do you need most at this stage? Share the phrase, "I am Stoic," in the comments and tell me where you're listening from. You don't know how much I enjoy reading your experiences and feeling that, in some way, we're connected on this journey. If you think this message can inspire or accompany someone close to you, I invite you to share it with them. Sometimes, a small reflection can be the spark that ignites a deep change in another person. And if this content has helped you, consider subscribing to continue building a fuller and more authentic life together with new tools and new ways to understand this wonderful journey. Remember that no matter how old you are or how many mistakes you think you've made, there's always time to decide what you want to do with what you have now. Life doesn't wait, but it doesn't abandon you either. Every day is an opportunity to create, learn, and simply be. And that, in the end, is the greatest gift you can give yourself. Thank you for being here, and I'll see you at the next meeting.